Alex, I'm just going to post the link. Welcome to the group.
Thank
This
you.
is the link what we're talking about. And we're going to start. Just let me copy where we're going to start from. We're going to start from this line here, which is about halfway through the article, more or less. Okay, but maybe before we start reading, for the people who have read the first part, who were here on Monday, could you give us a little bit of a summary about what the first part of the article was talking about before we continue reading, just so that we've got a little bit of background for the people who haven't read it? Nikolai.
Okay, I just have done translate first part, and
Nikolai, are you still there?
did you hear me?
Now I can hear you again.
Okay, something was going wrong. So yes, the article is online shopping, and that is very big in Britain. That they spend online that Britain online shopping's most is in the road, if I got it right, and more than American. Shops and supermarkets working with delivery companies where works couriers, couriers, and the article says that the salary of that couriers has is very small, and sometimes customers do wrong thing when then courier deliver some stuff for this, and it's about something like this. It's about difficult life of courier.
Yes, great, thank you. Can anyone else add any more details, or is there anything that Nikolai missed? Anything important? April?
They said that most of the couriers are self-employed, and they have to guarantee. Actually, they have to guarantee that their job, the parcels will be delivered in time and correctly, and that the customers should be satisfied about that service. And if it isn't like that, they get the blame. And even if they are ill, for example, they have to find some cover. And if they don't get it, they first of all, if they are ill, they will not get paid. And if they can't get any cover to do their job to that day or that period, sometimes some company will charge them for the cost, for the expense that the company has to spend to find another career. So their job is very stressing also, and sometimes their car they will fill it full up to the roof, and because they have to bring a lot of parcel every day, and they can't do it twice or thrice because otherwise they will lose time and money. And but the company said that they know that it is dangerous. It's not safe to do that, to do delivery like that. But and they are actually ready to pay more for twice trip to deliver. But it is what the company said against what the courier said. So each one is right. We don't know that. And that's all, I think. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Manu.
Yes, thank you. I think that Nikolai and April have already summarized very well the article. It seems to me that the whole article is about kind of exploiting behavior on the part of the companies, which are mainly online retailers, and couriers are supposed to work all day delivering parcels to customers, and probably the majority of customers don't know that the couriers are paid by delivery and not by hour. So they don't care if maybe when they have to send back some parcels are not suitably wrapped and labeled as it will be expected by the company. So couriers can't bring back the parcels, and they waste their time. They make several trips, losing their time and their money for nothing, because they just are paid by delivery and not hour. Just this I wanted to know to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, and that's very good. Very important, actually, that the article kind of pointed out that online shopping might be good for the customers, the people receiving it, and it might be good for the companies who are selling it, but nobody really thinks about that in-between step, about the couriers who actually have to deliver all these parcels all the time. Okay, well, let's start reading then. We're going to start reading, and let's see, we'll see if everybody can get a turn to read, and then we'll stop and we'll talk about it a bit more. So Monique, would you like to read first?
Okay. This growing, right? This growing torrent. Okay.
Yes.
This growing torrent of parcels is certainly news for the delivering giants. Hermes, ultimately owned by 73-year-old German billionaire Michael Otto and a family, turned a profit of £27 million in the UK last year, using almost entirely self-employed couriers. Another giant, DPD, owned by GeoPost, a subsidiary of France's Postal Service, made more than £100 million using what it describes as driver franchises, essentially self-employed drivers. But across, you tell me.
Keep going.
Okay, but across the industry as a whole, the experiences of those on the front line of delivery are not always so positive. While some describe the work as a satisfying, enjoying a sense of independence as they fit their work around other commitments and serve their local community, others describe feeling broken by the demands of the job. Impoverished impoverished by low pay and a self-employed status that seems so provide little of the freedom it implies, plus none of the benefits and protections of traditional employment.
Thank you. Any questions or comments about this part here? April?
I wonder, this Hermes, is it the one that I know as the production of perfume and handbags, I think, or is it just a courier firm, delivery firm? I wonder that. Which Hermes they are talking here?
That's a good point, actually. I think they might be talking more about a parcel group because they're talking more about England and like big companies in England. And Hermes, the fashion company, is more a European company. I think it's a company from Paris or from France. So I think it might be a delivery company. Oh, Nikolai's found it. Yes. Any other questions or comments here?
It seems that's just so unfair. If you read that, 27 million pounds profit in a year, and they treated their career so bad. I don't understand it.
Yeah, it's not really fair. They're not really thinking about the couriers at all, just about their profit, really. Well, let's keep on working. Let's keep on reading. Let's see what else they say. April, do you want to continue?
Thank you, Bradley. One parcel courier in London highlights the pressure of the targets imposed on him. We do have to meet targets, which is to bring as few packages back to the depot as possible, he says. If you bring back 10 parcels, say, they'll start complaining straight away. Our bottomless demand for online delivery is placing greater pressure on retail workers too. The extent to which online customers are treated with importance above everything else is extreme, reports one manager at a major supermarket. Online shoppers, staff that complete consumers' online orders, are expected to work from 4 a.m. and pick at pace, with demanding productivity targets. I have seen online managers and team leaders get sign-off sick with anxiety, depression, and stress because the role is so demanding. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay,
And
so this
my
is
question is at pace.
okay. Pick at pace. Okay. Does anyone know what this phrase might mean? Pick at pace. Yeah, it means that they kind of have to maintain a certain rhythm. So they have an order in front of them. Maybe it's got 5 things on it, and maybe they're allowed to spend, say, 1 minute or 2 minutes to find each item. So it means that they have to keep finding things. Really, they have to keep doing things that are at the same pace the whole day long. So, for example, they can't spend 20 minutes on one order and then 2 minutes on the next order. They should be spending the same amount of time on every order so that they're going through orders at a certain rhythm, at a certain pace. Does that make sense?
Okay,
if you think
thank
about
you.
like a conveyor belt, you know how conveyor belt things come down them at a certain speed and people have to take things off the conveyor belt? It's kind of that same idea.
That's why I had to run every time I heard the bell, that I know that a courier comes. Like it was yesterday, I think. Not today. No, yesterday, twice. And I was at the end of my house, so a little bit far from the front door, and I had to go down on by the stairs to follow the stair. And every time if I know the courier is coming, I had to run. It's so bad for my health, and so dangerous because, and sometimes they don't even wait for me.
Yes, this is the problem. I had the same thing actually this week. It's the week for couriers. I heard a courier calling out in my building trying to find someone to sign for a parcel, and I felt very bad for both the courier, that he'd have to come back another day, and also the people who had parcels being delivered. So I had to run down the stairs to try to catch him before he left. So, but I'm not sure if I would have done it if I hadn't read this article on Monday. So this article's already had an effect on me. Okay, any other questions about this part before we keep reading? Or any comments? Okay, let's keep going then. Nikolai, would you like to read?
Yes, but from where?
From He Continues.
Okay. He continues the expectation to get perfect orders is a daily focus above every other task in store. Queuing behind 6 people at a checkout on Monday morning. Sorry, every checkout colleague in the store is picking online orders. That is more important. Want some breakfast in the cafe? Sorry, can't do hot food because the cook is out driving an online van, covering a driver who went sick after the 11th shift in a row with no day off. He concludes, customers expect perfection but don't want to pay for it, and the race to be the best online retailers to achieve this is the only goal my supermarkets see. Go see.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any questions in this part or any comments? Queuing. What is queuing? Alex, did you want to add something?
Yes, just queuing is waiting in line.
Yeah, exactly. Artem, did you want to add something else as well?
No, I think she exposed already the meaning of that phrase. What's the word?
Okay, great. Yeah, it's more popular in some countries than in other countries, I think. Any other questions or comments in this part? Okay, let's keep reading then. Luca, would you like to read?
Yes. From he concludes, or the part below?
From There Has Been.
There has been, okay, thank you. There has been a kind of grim inflation in the story of who emerging from the career frontline over the past year. Peter Jameson, a Hermes courier from Edinburgh, spoke out last September after the company abruptly withdrew his work as his wife lay dying from cancer. Partly, it seemed, because he was struggling with his rounds while supporting her chemotherapy. Then, in January, Leicester-based courier Armandeep Kaur said she was hounded to get back to work by her manager at Hermes, after her 6-year-old son had a heart attack and died. Hermes subsequently acknowledged that in Jameson's case, our behavior fell short of the ethical standards we have set ourselves. In the case of Kaur, it said, the field team did everything they could to support her, by helping to provide alternative cover during this difficult time.
Thank you. Okay, let's take a look at this section. Any questions or comments? Yes, these are some very sad stories here. I guess this is one of the big problems because they're independent, I guess, that if they don't work or if there's problems, they're not protected at all. Yeah, struggling with his rounds means that he doesn't have time to do his rounds. The rounds are kind of the area that they cover, or the route that they take when they deliver. So maybe they deliver in a certain part of the city. That would be their round, the area that they do deliveries in. So if they're struggling with it, it means that they're having a hard time to do all the deliveries for that area. And losing rounds would maybe be that the company would take areas off them, would say, okay, you're not delivering parcels to this part anymore because you're not able to do this work. What about abruptly withdrew? What does this mean? Any ideas? Yeah, in this case it is kind of like he suddenly got fired. It's not so much fired though, because he's not directly employed by them. So it would just mean that they took his work away from him basically, or said that they didn't need him to do this kind of work anymore. So they took away these rounds, or they took away this work from him. What about grim inflation? Can anyone explain grim inflation? Or maybe one or the other? April?
Yeah, I know inflation. I think inflation here means more and more stories, but grim inflation. So is it in maybe in a terribly amount of more and more story in very high, maybe very high.
Yeah, exactly. It means that there's been an increase, but it's a sad increase really, or it's a depressing kind of increase, because you don't really want to see this kind of increase happening. It's not a good increase to happen. Okay, let's read some more. Manu, would you like to read?
Yes, thank you, but I have lost the point, the start point.
It's
I don't
just
know.
underneath the picture, starting in March.
Oh, okay, thank you. In March, UK mail courier Emil Ibrahimov from East London was charged nearly 800 pounds when he was unable to work as a result of being hit by a car while on duty. It is inhuman because it is happened while I was doing their job, he told me. The car accident didn't stress me out as much as what UK Mail did afterwards. UK Mail's response was, UK Mails hasn't profited out of this. They are simply covering the cost they have incurred finding cover for ramps. These are the human stories behind the trend identified this month by the House of Commons Work and Pensions Select Committee, chaired by Frank Field. Increasingly, some companies are using self-employed workforces as cheap labor, excusing themselves from the responsibilities towards their workers and from substantial national insurance liabilities, pension auto-enrollment responsibilities, and the apprenticeship levy, it said in its final report, squeezed out before Parliament broke up for the general election.
Thank you. Any
Thank you.
questions or comments in this part? No questions or comments here? Okay, well, I can see that some people are getting a little bit anxious to start talking. So let's quickly give Alex and Artem a little time to, to read as well so that they don't miss out. And then we can start talking about it, okay? Alex, would you like to read?
Yes.
You don't have to if you don't want to, but...
Yes, I'm okay. It's okay. The report concluded, the ease with each company are able to classify their workforces as self-employed both fails to protect workers from exploitation and potentially increases strain on the welfare state. One of the couriers who provided Field's committee with evidence was Mac Runston, who worked for Hermes. He told how he worked 7 hours a day, 6 days a week, for about £40 a day, the equivalent of £5.80 an hour. The UK's current national minimum wage is £7.50 an hour. However, Ramsden's take-home earnings were lower still, because he also had to pay for his own petrol, car insurance, and mobile phone expenses. And I work for free a lot of time, he said, explaining that he would spend up to 2 hours a day at the sub-depot, helping sort through the pile of parcels before starting his round.
Thank you. Great. Let's have a look at this part here. Any questions or comments here? Alex?
Yes, it's like Uber employees. They have all the charges, and they don't get paid for all the expenses and all the work.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point, actually. I think Uber has a delivery service too in some countries. I've heard of Uber Eats, I think it's called, for delivering food. So, but you're right, they've got a very similar situation, I think. Okay. Artem, would you like to read a bit? Artem, are you awake? Okay, I guess he's not. Reem, would you like to read a little bit? Can everyone still hear me?
I do. I don't
Okay.
know Reem though.
I was getting
Yes.
very worried. Everyone I tried to talk to wasn't responding.
Reem is there.
Yes, I'm here. Yes, I will read. On the
Okay.
question of whether we should have been closed as self remained that I had no control over anything that I ever did. It is events that stand in stark contrast to that of human UK chief excessive Carlo Whitehead, who told Parliament her career average gross earnings stand at 11 pound 14 pence per hour and are calculated using an extremely
Conservative.
conservative set of assumption about the detection for fear. Volcker insurance uh, dep- depreciation, is that right? Depreciation and
Yes.
other expenses to be 9 pound 90 pence per hour after expenses.
Thank you. Okay. Are there any questions in this section? April?
I don't understand actually. On the first paragraph that Reem has read, on the question of whether he should have been classed as self-employed, Ramsden said. So he was not a self-employed then in Hermes. What is he then? What was he then?
Okay. The idea is that when you're self-employed, that it means that you control a lot of things. For example, the hours you work, the pay you make, what you do, how you do it, even things like the clothes you wear or the kind of vehicle you use. Because you're self-employed, you should be able to choose all these things. But that's what he was saying here, that he didn't have control over anything he did. So, for example, the time of day that he had to arrive at the depot, or the number of parcels that he needed to take, or the area that he delivered in, or probably even things like using a uniform or having to fill out certain forms or follow policies. They were all kind of dictated to him by the company. And so even though they said he was self-employed, they were kind of treating him like an employee and not a company that they were contracting. Does that make sense?
Okay, I understand now. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. Self-employed usually means that you're the boss, and it doesn't really sound like he was in this case. Okay. So I think everybody's had a chance to read now, so let's talk about this a little bit more. Before you read this article, had anyone ever thought about how these parcels from online shopping get delivered to you? Had you thought about the process with the courier that your purchases had to take between when you ordered them online and when they arrived at your house? April?
I only know. I never thought of couriers actually before I read this, and before I heard in the news about the employees in DHL. That is one of the European delivery office. I know that a lot of people work in the shop, online shop. They have to do a lot of things because there are a lot of orders, and they have to do it as fast as possible. So, for example, they have to use a roller coaster. Can you say that? Because
I'm sure it's a roller coaster. That sounds like a lot of fun.
what is that then? Like with wheels on your shoes, a roller
skates or roller plates?
roller. Yeah, because they have to go from one shelf to the other shelf, and find the right item, the correct items, pack in, and then put it in the on the band, and put everything correctly and check it. I have seen that kind of documentary. So I had such a pity feeling for them. And then I heard that a lot of online shops are in trouble because they can't get enough profit, because everything is so cheap, and cheaper than in the supermarket, in the shop, and that they have to pay a lot for the employees. But about couriers, I don't know that, because I think that is always delivered by our post, and the postmen in our country, they are not paid very bad like this one. And so that's why I was surprised when I heard that they were treated badly. And today or yesterday, when the post when the couriers came for my parcels, I especially watched or looked at his car, and it is. I was so surprised because it is not a car from our post office. it is like that he rent that car to bring this one. But he said that he is a postman, so I don't understand that. If he's not from the post office, normally they said, I have a parcel from the firm, not the Hermes, the Harrods, for example. They will say that. They don't say, I'm a postman with a parcel. If you say, I'm a postman with a parcel for you, that means that it's from the post office. But he used a car from another company from Europe, rent or something else. This is not really a car to deliver stuff. So I'm a little bit confused actually. But anyway, every time, if not only from after reading this article, but every time if a postman ring, I always try to go downstairs as soon as possible, and really, and sometimes I was. I forget that I still have my headset on my head. maybe Lynn has heard what I was, because sometimes I forget to mute the microphone, because I had to. It is quite a long way to go downstairs, and sometimes I forgot to mute, and everybody will hurt me running. Oh, it's terrible. But really, before this, I didn't understand. I didn't know that the couriers was treated so badly. But I think it is not in every country. In our country, it's not possible. I don't think it is like this. So
Yeah, it might depend on some of the rules as well about self-employment in different countries as well, and the kind of jobs and how they pay those people as well. Luca?
Yes, thanks. I know the courier's situation because I work as a courier for a short period of time because I think 4 or 5 years ago when I was studying, my friend that actually is still making the courier asked me an end because he had a problem with his driver license, and so for 1 week he wasn't able to drive. So I drive for him, and while I was driving to various houses, he made the deliveries. And in that situation, I think that it is a very stressful work because okay, you start at 9 in the morning, or better, this is in Italy, I don't know in the other countries, you start at 9 in the morning but you finish around 8, 9 in the afternoon, in the night. So are 12 hours for a day. That is a lot because you always you cannot eat because you have no time for it because you have a lot of packages to deliver. So after this experience, I always thought that you have you must to have the maximum respect for the couriers because their work is very stressful.
Yes, it sounds like a very long day of work, and probably other things as well, like if there's a dog at the house, or if the people aren't home, or if it's raining, or there's lots of other things that could happen while they're trying to deliver things that would make their day even more stressful. Trying to find parking as well, I can imagine that would be a really stressful part of being a courier. Monique?
Well, in my country, all those courier companies, let's say that they have to have like some permits, licenses. It's not it's not like you can just self-employed and being just a driver just like that. And I think it's more about an insurance thing, and they have to think about it. So when I think about this when you are shopping online, and if I will receive my parcel, I'm sure that I will receive that package or that parcel from maybe a recognized courier company, and I'm sure that the guy will just dress with his or her uniform, and we know that it's not maybe, as Lucas says, it's not an easy job. They have to work a lot. Actually, they have shifts and so on. But what the big companies do, they have like a special contracts. So if you want to sell your products on that platforms, so they don't, they just have an arrangement, a previous arrangement with that company, and they can offer excellent rates. So that's why when they have to charge customers, it's not to hide the rate that you must pay. So it is a good option for us because if we are talking about a big city, and if they offer you a good rate for just to put the I don't know, any item product at your house, so of course we will take it. So let's say that we have all that kind of things. But I was thinking about what Alex says about Uber, and I think that's a good example because that's the way that you can see people self-employed. But at least, or in my country, if you are working with Uber, I'm sure that they are earning more than the average wage. So they are earning more money, and they can make good money just working with them. But that is a good example. But maybe as the article says, you have to pay for the expenses and all the things just to do your job. But at the same time, you can manage your time. So this is something that is good for you, because you don't need just to I don't know, just to do, or just to how can I say that? Yeah, like if you cannot work for 8 hours, or maybe you can just work part-time, you can do it. I mean, it's up to you. And if I can manage my time, and if I can manage my my work, then I would say that I'm really self-employed. Otherwise, it's just it's just a lie, like maybe the article says.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a way for the companies to get around having to pay extra things like sick pay and sick leave and holidays and retirement money and all these kinds of extras that they have to pay for employees by hiring people as self-employed, but treating them still like employees, really. So it's just a way for the companies to save money, but doesn't really give a very good deal for the people who are employed that way. Alex?
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, Monique, did you want to add something else?
Just one little thing, and it's about when we are talking about that kind of jobs, when you have to use your own vehicle, let's say your motorbike or maybe your own car, it's a really good business for the companies. Because when you have a company and you have to buy all the cars or all the fleet, it's really expensive, plus all the the circumstances that you have to face, during the, I don't know, any, let's say just a crash car or any kind of accident. So it's really expensive. So that's why maybe this method is working there, because it's a really, like a saving money for the company.
Yes, I think the companies here in England are doing much better than the courier companies, the couriers themselves, out of this deal.
Yeah,
I think
far
see
better.
that more and more. Okay, Alex?
Yes, I think in France there are lots of private companies who deliver parcels, and the company, it may be the national post, but it depends on the type of parcels. For example, some companies are specialized in the delivering of little parcels. And so in these companies, the couriers have a huge number of parcels to deliver each day, because it's the amount of the number of the parcel give they have to deliver lots of parcels to have the correct wage at the end of the day. And but I thought that online companies have lower expenses, lower costs compared to usual shops, because there are no fees for renting places to display products and so on. So I thought that the gain of expenses could be partly used to pay the delivery. But I still wonder how it's possible to benefit of free return when the product doesn't is not fitting your what you're waiting.
Yeah, it's a little bit strange that they can offer this free returns, or you don't have to pay to get the courier to take it back to the company if there's something wrong with it, or if clothes or shoes or something it doesn't fit. This is a bit of a strange policy, because if you think about it from the perspective of the couriers, then they're not receiving money for one of the journeys that they're doing. So it's a little bit strange here. I don't know how they make that profitable.
Yes, and it's.
Oh, sorry.
No, just to add that it encourage free returns, encourage people to order lots of things and then to return the part of the order. So it's a vicious circle.
Yeah, and really all it's doing is creating a lot of work for the courier companies, because if people don't end up keeping the items, the company isn't getting the money, the customer isn't getting an item, and it's just the poor couriers who are doing all the work.
Yeah.
Nikolai?
Oh, yes. So I understand something that said previous people, but it's difficult too much understanding speech. So I want to say about my country. I've never think about Korea before. I've read this article, but I think in my country competition between companies is not strong, and our couriers life is not difficult as Britain couriers life. So when previous people were talking about answer the question, I went to the site where I seen some position from companies looking for, and salary of couriers is not very small. It's about average on my city. So and sometimes I've heard about somebody was talking about Uber. Maybe yes, taxi driver sometimes deliver parcels for clients, maybe. So I think in my country, a life of courier is not too difficult.
Okay, interesting. Luca?
Yes, I just want to make a session about the prices that are less expensive respect to the normal shops for all goods that are sell online. Maybe because these companies like Amazon or the other like Amazon has the how can I say, the administration, the legal site, I don't know if it's the right term, on the countries where the tax pressure is less. So, for example, if you have your less tax respect to Italy, I think, but I don't know if it's a right consideration.
Yeah, that's a good point actually, because I think some countries do have lower taxes, so that could make the products cheaper, and then maybe they can make the product cheaper and still include some of that delivery cost.
Yeah.
To like include some of that delivery cost in the price of the object and still make it cheaper than in other places.
Yeah, that is the same point was made also for Apple company, for example, in Italy and also abroad. I think 2 years ago there was the same aspect discussed by newspapers about this. because they have the legal site in countries where taxes are less.
Yes, I know. I know that here in Brazil, it's cheaper to fly to New York, pay for a hotel for a few days, buy an iPhone there, and then fly back, than it is just to buy the iPhone in the country. So I think sometimes these taxes can make a huge difference in the price of the goods. So maybe that is one reason why this online shopping is cheaper. But I don't know. Do you think that then, because a lot of people have said that in where you live, you don't see some of the things, or you haven't heard about some of the things that they've mentioned in the article, that the couriers seem to be paid well, or to be paid a reasonable price for delivering the goods, and that maybe it's a little bit more controlled. There isn't so many self-employed couriers as there are here. So do you think this is more of a problem than just in the UK because of the system that they have with these self-employed couriers? Or do you think this is a problem in other places as well, that couriers aren't getting paid very much and have very difficult conditions to work with? Manu?
Yes, I don't know if it is a problem of UK or maybe it is a more general problem spreading all over Europe. But what I know is that in Italy, in my town, even in winter time, when the climate is very cold, I see just one category of workers who are able to sweat also in cold climate. It is the couriers. Then maybe people making running, making footing, and this kind of laborers. So I suppose they aren't paid so much because I can assure you that I have seen many times couriers working very hard, sweating also in a cold climate. So I suppose it is generally that they aren't paid so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Monique?
Okay, in my country, it's for drivers is really a big issue. Maybe not in the same way like in the UK, but the problem here is more like if you want to work for if you have your car or your truck, and if you want to work for a transport company, I mean, of course, there are a lot of people working that way, but at the same time, they don't receive a good payment. And but who is really receiving that money is the company, just the name, the brand. So it's a really, because they are dealing, of course, with the intermediary. So that's the problem when it comes to transport in my country, and that's why they are always, they try to go on a strike, and always asking for better conditions, better salaries, and it's just because of that. But at the same time, if I'm part of a company and I just want to hire maybe a service like that, I cannot do it with just a guy who has, or his truck. It's not like that. You need some. I need to be sure that that company has the insurance, that my cargo will be fine, that I know that I can transport goods, like in the proper way. So of course, companies give you that confidence. But that's the problem is just between the drivers and the companies, the transport companies. So that's the reality in my country.
Okay, and I guess that takes me to the next question then. Do you think that there's anything that us as customers, or customers in general, can do to help with this problem? Or do you think this is something that the individual drivers and individual couriers need to discuss with the companies who are hiring them, the delivery companies? For example, do you think you would think again now about buying something online instead of going to a store and buying it? Luca?
Okay, I think people for sure when go online for shopping try to find a good that maybe is less expensive of that found on the normal shops. And I think this could be understood by all employees of these delivering companies. I think maybe the governments can make something for these employees, because I think the government could create a law to help, a law that could help all these employees try to give them the correct salary. This maybe could be the right action. And the other thing, okay, but this is my personal taste, is always to go to the normal shops, because when I want to buy something, I prefer to try it, to look it by me and not by a screen, because when you look it by the screen, is not the same thing, because sometimes when you buy it, when the goods are delivered to your home, you discover that what you have bought is not that you really wanted.
Yes, this is a big problem with buying things online, that sometimes they're not the same. I've seen something recently as well about people buying groceries online and accidentally buying too much. So instead of buying, for example, 500 grams of rice, they buy 5 kilos of rice. Or instead of buying, like 10 potatoes, they buy 10 kilograms of potatoes. So there are some dangers to buying things online sometimes. Manu?
Yes, I think that nothing can change in the short time, because, for example, if you give a torturer the chance to torture you by means of just one click, they'll never stop torturing you. So it is they will do the same thing, clicking on a keyboard over and over, and so the couriers are forced to do their trips, even for just one package of chips. Just for one very little tiny item. So it is too simple to just ask by one click, and so triggering the series of events that go after your clicking. So I suppose all the matter can't change in the short time, and couriers will be paid a low wage even in the future. I think things can't change. We have to change the customer mind first. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. It's very easy to buy things online, and that means that people don't think very much now before they buy something online. As you said, it's just one click and it's done. It's very easy. So maybe that's something else that could be done if it was a little bit more difficult to actually buy things online, or maybe if you had to buy a certain minimum of things, maybe that would make these kinds of deliveries a little bit more worthwhile for the people who are having to make them. Okay, guys, I have a feeling we could talk about this for a long time, but we've run out of time for today. But remember, this topic is on the forum, so maybe if you have time, go to the forum and leave a comment there, maybe about what kind of solution you can see, or a way maybe that something that could be done to help these couriers, to make it a bit more worthwhile for them, or to not cause so many problems for them maybe when they're doing these type of deliveries. And then we can keep talking about this a little bit more on the forum as well. Were there any last thoughts, last comments, last ideas before we finish? Reem.
Yes, for me, I am not prefer to shopping on internet, but the experience is nice to try to shop on internet and try. But I'm shop for cheaper things, not very much. Because I am not, as mentioned the other, I'm not a trust very thing only to see in my eyes, I think. And another point, when you shop online, you make you shop more than and more than, because more easy as you as I think Luca mentioned. On a click, you will see, and we see many things, like in AliExpress, you think many things, and you are very confused. It is nice or it is nice. I prefer to see not very much things and choose from these. Thanks.
Thank you. Great. Yes, I agree. It's far too easy. Okay. Well, let's finish here for today then. I'll put the link here for the post on the forum as well. So let's keep talking about it there too. But thank you all very much. I hope you enjoyed the topic today. And hopefully, what's today? Wednesday. Hopefully talk to you again tomorrow or next week. Don't forget to hit the red button to hang up the call, okay? Bye, everyone.
Thing when then courier deliver some stuff for this, and it's about something like this. It's about difficult life of courier.
Yes, great, thank you. Can anyone else add any more details, or is there anything that Nikolai missed? Anything important? April?
They said that most of the couriers are self-employed, and they have to guarantee. Actually, they have to guarantee that their job, the parcels will be delivered in time and correctly, and that the customers should be satisfied about that service. And if it isn't like that, they get the blame. And even if they are ill, for example, they have to find.
Article is online shopping, and that is very big in Britain. That they spend online that Britain online shoppings most is in the world, if I got it right, and more than American. Shops and supermarkets working with delivery companies where works couriers, and the article says that the salary of that couriers has is very small, and sometimes customers do wrong.
Alex, I'm just going to post the link. Welcome to the group.
Thank
This is
you.
the link what we're talking about. And we're going to start. Just let me copy where we're going to start from. We're going to start from this line here, which is about halfway through the article, more or less. Okay, but maybe before we start reading, for the people who have read the first part, who were here on Monday, could you give us a little bit of a summary about what the first part of the article was talking about before we continue reading, just so that we've got a little bit of background for the people who haven't read it? Nikolai.
Okay, I just have done translate first part, and
Nikolai, are you still there?
did you hear me?
Ah, now I can hear you again.
Okay, something was going wrong. So yes, there are
some cover, and if they don't get it, they first of all, if they are ill, they will not get paid, and if they can't get any cover to do their job to that day or that period, sometimes some company will charge them for the cost, for the expense that the company has to spend to find another career. So their job is very stressing also, and sometimes their car, they will fill it full up to the roof, and because they have to bring a lot of parcel every day, and they can't do it twice or thrice, because otherwise they will lose time and money. And but the company said that they know that it is dangerous, it's not safe to do that, to do delivery like that, and they are actually ready to pay more for twice trip to deliver, but it is what the company said against the what the courier said. So each one is right. We don't know that. And that's all, I think. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Manu.
Yes, thank you. I think that Nikolai and April have already summarized very well the article. It seems to me that the whole article is about kind of exploiting behavior on the part of the companies, which are mainly online retailers, and couriers are supposed to work all day delivering parcels to customers, and probably the majority of customers don't know that the couriers are paid by